like to call to order the special session today to discuss budgets and roll call.
Councilmember Cassidy? Here. Councilmember Sampson?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Olson?
Here.
Mayor Marshall?
Here.
And for the record, Councilmember Hernandez is absent.
I guess we should just pray for a balanced budget, correct?
Your prayer is not going to be answered.
Prayers are not going to be answered. That's true.
So let's just hop right into it.
Let's just hop right in. So we've distributed a few documents here again. We've got the overall, and then we have the capital improvement project list, and then we have a one-time expenditure detail. Those should be the three documents we're working from today. So I think we're going to try to jump back to where we were last time after Gina explained some of the corrections, updates that she made based upon the discussion from last time. I think that based on my conversations with a couple of you, what we'd probably like to do for the next session, and in the interest of trying to get through everything, is maybe set aside a big chunk of time and just go through department by department, and painful as it may be, just allocate 4 hours of time and march all the way through. Hopefully it won't take 4 hours of time, but it could take that long just to do that. So if that maybe is where we can go next time, that would be, and then we'll just all be tortured and be done with it. So Gina, do you want to go through first what you updated since last time in response to comments and corrections and changes? Do you want to do that?
Sure. Just to introduce the document to you, it's a CIP document.
This is the legal size one, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And we've added on a section. If you turn to the third page, you will see we start with project number 100. What this is we separated out what I would call Dennis's projects that he focuses on, and then what ES, Environment Strategy, focuses on, as well as other departments like Fuel Dock and Harbor, Vehicle, and Admin. So that we'll be spending some time on that as well, but I wanted to go back to the beginning and just share with you some items that we did change along the way. On 2C, I changed the description there. I believe it said other water-related expense. It's other water-related expertise, and it's going to be dedicated to consortium contribution and a hydrologist, as well as other miscellaneous expenditures. And we've increased that to $40,000.
Can you break that 40,000 down between the two?
Between
The
consortium and the hydrologist?
yeah.
Sure.
And then just under total project cost for 2C,
Yes.
I wasn't seeing that till right now. What is that based upon?
Dennis had a number there. That's his number, so it would be his detail related to, I believe, possibly all of these items here, maybe. I don't know the detail on that.
Let's check that one, because that seems a little.
High.
If the project is just getting experts to weigh in on things, I think that seems a little high.
This is the total project column is multi-year. So
Okay.
this is multi-year, not a single year. The
Still seems high, but
Okay.
yeah.
I'll ask him.
Okay.
That's what my notes were from the last time, was that
Oh, was that on
It
there last
was-
time and I just didn't catch it?
well, no, my notes that I was writing as we went along were
Okay.
that it was for that 475 total project cost was to cover specialists in a bunch of different areas, as well as the possibility of that decel, the demonstration unit.
The demo unit, and that's why it's
Yeah, so
okay.
that's why it's as high as it is.
Okay. Unit itself is around $300,000, so
Right.
that makes more sense. Okay. So if the detail, Gina, reflected that, then it would make,
Okay.
I would get it.
Because the previous comments in your spreadsheet before were decel demo, and that's been since taken out.
Yeah, it says right here in the old one.
Okay.
Right.
Correct. I removed that out to make it just other water-related expense.
Okay, well, I'm sorry. We probably do need to have in the comments something
In the
about,
comments section, yeah.
potential purchase of a demonstration decel unit, something like that. Okay.
And what we have here is the spreadsheet that originated with Dennis, and it's being merged into everything else. So
Yeah, no, that's okay.
he'll be here, I believe, around 3:30. We're thinking possibly, if there's any drill down we should need to do. And then we made a change we added the seawall handrail at $14,000. And Dennis mentioned, originally it was $40,000. He believes he can do it in-house and get that number lower, so we included that in the budget.
What number is that again?
That's
9?
9.
9, okay.
You said 6 last time, but 9 sounds about more realistic, or something like that.
No, he said 6,000 for the materials plus the labor.
Oh,
Okay, yeah.
And this adds the labor into it.
I misunderstood him, or didn't hear him. Great.
Okay.
And then the next page, I believe in my rush in the last 15 minutes to update this. By the way, this sheet is not linked to my budget, so I updated all my other budget sheets. We did add museum stairs, number 18, as well as 19, the modular bathroom casino. So it's showing as not being funded, but it is funded in the large spreadsheet that I gave you. So it's funded for museum stairs. Number 18 is funded for $50,000, and number 19, modular bathrooms casino, is funded for $50,000.
Funded, like funded? Or we have to find the funds?
It's funded in the harbor fund.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Proposed to be included in your budget.
Yes.
If you
Okay.
decide to. You,
But
of
it would
course, can remove it.
Right, but it's harbor fund?
Correct.
Okay, all right.
Not for the stairs.
So,
Excuse me, museum
The
stairs, no, that's
the
general fund.
Yeah, and the museum stairs we're contractually obligated to provide those. We're in discussions with the museum now. There's some dispute as to who's responsible for a design that was proposed, but ultimately the city will pay for the stairs. You know, we're working with them now to figure out.
but wasn't that part of the mitigation for doing that project?
It was
Is
part of
that-
the, before my time, but it is in the agreement that the city will provide the new public stairs alongside the museum.
And you're
basically.
sure that wasn't as part of the museum's agreement? You might-
It's our obligation to build the stairs.
So they took them out and we got to pay to put them back in.
Well, the
Yeah.
stairs are still there, right? These are the ones alongside the Hermosa Hotel.
Yeah.
So those are the stairs we're replacing. Does that make sense?
Right, but I very strongly remember this being part of the agreement with the museum. So that's where I'm saying, are we sure the cities, oh, it's changed since then? Okay.
Go ahead. Jean.
Alrighty, and that's the end of the adjustments to this page. So if we move to the third page, I think what I'll do is because I believe it's Brian's day off, we'd like to move to number 115,
Yes.
harbor infrastructure. And harbor security cameras, you recall that was brought to council. That's going to be done in the next few weeks, and that's for $35,000. And then the pier pile, pier crane, and pier generator, I'll leave that to Brian to discuss, as well as the fuel dock infrastructure, the float replacement.
So you want to start with line item 115 then?
115, sure.
The harbor security camera system, the council already approved the expenditure. The equipment is in place. It's, I think next week they're coming back to do the pan tilt zoom cameras, then the project will be complete. The pier piles, it's just a guesstimate to put some money in there after we get a pier pile inspection. The pier crane, we had the crane on the pier.
Wait, just let me back up. May I back up a little bit?
Okay.
So if you're putting in money for pier pile, how much is the pier pile inspection?
The pier pile inspection, I was looking at around $12,000 to $14,000. The two bids that I've gotten so far are $27,000 and $22,000. So I'm still looking for another source.
And that's some other line item in the budget?
That's another line item.
That's already?
That's under engineering.
Okay. Okay. All right, thanks.
The pier crane, we had the mole flagpole and the pier crane surveyed by an inspector to make sure that the thickness of the steel had integrity. And he said the bracing for the pier crane needs some help, so I threw some money in there, and we need to put it out and have somebody come in and repair it.
We can't do something like that in-house? Just a question.
I don't know that, we probably want to have a certified welder and, you know, somebody who's going to back the work on something of that.
Maybe an engineer like Charlie Canby or something.
Okay.
Assess it. How's the flagpole? Or were you gonna?
Flagpole is fine.
It's good?
Yeah,
It needs a paint job though, right?
yes.
Is that gonna be done pretty soon?
Along with the, you know, tick list of 50 other things, but it's
Okay.
on the list. We'd like to be able to do it ourselves
Yeah.
to save the money.
Cool. That'll be good.
And the Pier generator, we have the generator. It's a gas generator, and we are right now in the process of installing a gas line to the pier to run a gas line from there to, we want to put the gas generator on the pier and then run the electrical line from the generator to the harbor office to power all of our hoists, all of our lights, our office, and anything else on the pier that is needed during a power outage. So this is just a cleanup of the installation. And then the line item 119 is the fuel dock float replacement. The floats, when we bought them 6 years ago, were in need of dire help. You know, our guys go out there and they chip around and go right through the drum, you know, when they go to paint it. And Charlie has said for the last couple of years, you better get that replaced. And we've built up money in the account with money that's been added to the price of gasoline to build those floats. And we have $125,000, and I want to do that in-house by hiring part-time workforce to go in and build our own docks.
This is the thing where the boats pull up and get their gas?
Correct.
Okay.
Very good. Glad you're keeping it work.
Is that for both floats?
Huh?
Is that both floats?
Correct. Yeah. And then, is there another page of it, or?
This was it.
Oh, are we gonna address, remember the swim float? Is that anywhere on the budget? Oh.
The swim
The
float?
swim float that we lost during the hurricane, yeah.
It was going to be replaced, but do we have a line item for that, Gina?
For float replacement?
Uh-huh.
I know we traditionally re-budget that. Did not remove that from last year,
Then,
so.
before it was called dinghy dock replacement, so this year it'll be in the line item, we'll make it a swim float. But yes, we plan to make it bigger and better and nicer and,
Yeah.
you know,
Do it
more
here?
yeah. I
Oh,
mean,
nice.
We'll do it ourselves.
Beautiful.
What's an estimate on the cost of that, Brian?
I would say 10,000.
Was that it? Okay.
I mean, it's
Materials.
plywood box and, you know, some fiberglass. And, you know, it's not that detailed, so it's not a lot of time.
Okay. So that should probably be reflected on this list then too.
Sure, we can add that. It's usually in his maintenance and repair. He has it in every year in his budget, so we can add that, a detail on here.
But even an outright replacement, I mean, because it was completely, I mean, it's not maintenance, it's new.
I can pull it out and make it its own separate capital
Okay.
from those funds instead of.
And the replacement of the harbor truck plus added equipment?
That was a line item that I wanted JD to speak to because he's at the garage, but it's,
Okay.
if I can't explain it good enough for you, I'll have him come in and do it. It's the van that we've had since like 1980, and it's got a welder and a compressor and a workbench and all the different electrical and plumbing fittings, and it's basically Charlie's van where he takes it and his workshop is at the site.
Okay.
And it looks like the bread box van,
Yes,
and
yes,
it's
yes.
in dire need of replacement. They're always nickel and diming the brakes or the engine, and it's time to replace it.
Right.
But what we're doing on the vehicle replacement side, more holistically, is we've tasked JJ and Dennis with going through all of the inventory of city vehicles and giving us an expectation of the lifespan and an approximate up to the needed repairs to keep it going, and then prioritizing it so that we can truly start, rather than every year just giving you guys, hey, this is the most important vehicle we're going to replace this year, so we have some type of inventory that we can work from. And then Dennis has also added in all the tools of the city, the major tools to that as well, so that we have that inventory. We know what the schedule is for replacement as well.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
So do we need to replace all the equipment that's in that van too, based on what this line item says?
I believe that it's replacing the compressor, and I'm not sure of what exactly equipment is coming off it and going in, but I know the compressor was on there.
Okay. Good.
Okay, so do you want to jump back and,
Thank you, Brian.
thanks, Brian.
Take the
Thank
rest of the day
you.
off.
Oh, and
Thanks, Brian.
but we don't have anything on here about the fuel dock itself.
That is on line,
Or did I miss
Oh,
that?
that was there, the big money.
yes.
It was a million something or
119.
something.
Fuel dock
Oh, there we are,
replacement,
there we are.
119.
Never
Yeah.
mind.
Gina?
Yes. Alrighty. We can go to start of stormwater, environment strategy. And Dave Clary is here to tell you all the details. And I can tell you, I asked him several different ways how to describe some of these replacements. It's very complicated as well as probably a little too detailed in terms of exactly. But trust me when I say it has to do with at what point the affluent comes in versus where the bugs are, the good bugs.
Yeah.
So it's all about that and how it all flows. And we'll start with stormwater and SCADA system, which is in, it's probably its final phase.
Actually, this will be the second phase. The first phase has already been completed, where all the hardware and software was purchased by the city, and it's been all set up. And so this is a second phase, which will actually do all the connecting and all, like for stormwater, for instance, so it'll be able to connect each stormwater system to a low-flow diverter system to the, it can be monitored through the computer system at the plant. And you can monitor flows and shut up, make sure everything's working right, so we don't have any damage to the pumps and all that. And so the first line item, the 100, is basically connecting the stormwater system into the SCADA system.
And I believe you already purchased the software. We have all of
The
that now. It's
software and the
just putting
hardware and
into
everything
the-
was purchased in phase 1. This will be phase 2. And there's like 3 or 4 line items that we'll be going over right here that are all part of the SCADA system.
Okay.
Would you like me to go on the next one? So the next one, the Reclaimed Water Project, we kind of touched base on that last time, but I was kind of sick and I didn't explain it very well, I don't think. What this is basically is the second phase. There was a feasibility study done in the first phase. This is more of an engineering report, like an engineering study, where it'll put it together, everything that needs to be done. All right, once the city comes to a conclusion on exactly what they want to do, like ground injection, just reclaim, all that, they'll go, the engineering study will be done where it's more of a design phase and a cost analysis phase, where it'll put together what equipment needs to be used, the flow diagram, the schematics of what needs to be done and all that, and how to incorporate it with the current system and everything. And that's money was put aside to have that done.
And let me just ask a question. Is this something, though, that we would have to go to bid on, since it's a $75,000
Yes.
net?
The study, or which part? I mean, sorry.
No, because this is completed, but to actually do the engineering, design, and the cost study, we would have to go out to bid on that because it's $75,000.
Because of the amount, yeah. But
Yeah.
But what you were discussing was you guys doing. This was something that you were proposing to do as part of your contractual obligations. Am I understanding this one correctly?
Yes, but I could understand the city's point. This is something.
Dennis is going to be here in a second, and
I mean, it would be an
thought you
additional
deferred, yeah.
$75,000 over a
Yeah.
contract.
Correct.
Yes. So that's, yes.
Yes, it's something that we started with the first phase, and this is the second phase. But
Okay.
I know Dennis had put aside something too so we'd probably incorporate it all and decide what we want to do at that point.
Okay.
And then next line item is another SCADA item. The first one was to incorporate the stormwater, and this one's to incorporate some of the flow sensors for the pumps and stuff at the wastewater and at the lift stations, to incorporate them into the SCADA system so that it can be monitored, and the wet wells and stuff like that. It's just another phase of the SCADA system of incorporating the lift stations. And then right underneath that is air relief valves. Currently, right now, we have to manually go down there just about every day and make sure that none of the pumps are like the lag pumps, not the actual pumps that are running, but the lag pumps that are sitting there in case of a higher flow. We have to go there manually and like bleed the air out of them every day so that they don't run dry. If they run dry, it can damage the pump. So the air relief valves will actually let the air out of it, so they'll be ready at all times in case of a higher flow.
And being that we're already halfway into our year, pretty much, close, all of these, with the exception of the reclaimed water project, all of these 20 and 5 and 5 and 5 need to be done, I'm saying need loosely, by the end of this fiscal year. None of these were really put over into the next year.
Yeah, no, and they were all planned for the last fiscal year.
Okay.
And so everything's pretty much designed and ready to go, and we're just waiting for the okay.
Okay.
And then now we go to the sewer infrastructure. The same thing with SCADA, incorporating the wastewater treatment plant, all the pumps and everything over there, so we can monitor the air system and all that. That was the first line item, is incorporating everything at the plant into the SCADA system.
So this is putting up the panel and the little, with the computer screen.
No, the panels, the computer
and
screens and all that are already up. The hardware and the software is already bought, and it's all up and running. Now this is going to connect all the different components to it so that everything can be monitored.
Okay.
And then this is the one she was talking about. It's a little bit confusing, the aeration piping. Someone had a good idea that I guess the last company had a good idea of one of the highest cost the highest energy cost piece of equipment over there is the blowers for the air and for the aeration. They had a good idea, and they put on the big basins. They put a monitoring where it can monitor the air. You want the air for the bugs, like she was saying, to be around 2. That's most efficient. Anything below that's not enough air for the bugs. Anything above that, so you're wasting energy. So when they designed it, though, they put it on only the big basins, and the line is also connected to the digester. So all it's doing is adjusting it, and it's back and forth, and it's just working. It never was doing anything efficient. It wasn't doing the way it was designed. So this line item right here would be to eliminate and to isolate those the 3 basins that can be adjusted for the air to save energy, and then the 2 digesters would be isolated, and they'd be put in with another blower that's already set up and everything for the influent and effluent channels. So it's changing around the equipment or the piping system so that it can be more efficient and we can save energy, save money. The next item is centrate line rehab. All the stuff that comes down from the centrifuge building and from the drying beds and stuff like that is supposed to drain down into the front of the plant, and there's a line in there that's collapsed or something. We got a temporary bypass where the stuff's going into our return system, which is putting a heavier load on all the pumps there, and they're working to where it would be gravity. So this is just to rehab that line. It's a broken line. So we have to dig it up at the front, and so everything will be more efficient. Anything that's dumped up in the centrifuge building or in the drying beds will go straight to the front of the process where it should be going. The next line item is a generator transfer switch. Right now, currently, if we have a power outage, we have to drive right straight out to the plant and shut everything down and then turn everything back on manually, because the power doesn't shift over and transfer over. So this is to add a transfer switch. So when the power does go out, everything will start back up on its own, and we can go out there and just make sure everything's running.
Now let me ask another question. On all of these things that you're saying, with the exception of the water, reclaimed water, we just say, here's the money, and they go out and find the people and do it. We're not involved in that process of a $25,000 or $50,000. Well, you know, like aeration piping, we just say, here's 50 grand and you go do it? Or how does that work?
As far as actually the procuring of the items, I mean, those, you have to solicit bids for these things, so you don't just single source them unless there's only one purveyor of that product. So all the standard normal purchasing policies would apply. But we're just simply, as part of this, trying to show you what the things are that you're going to need to be spending money on.
But like on that we
The
don't.
the city would oversee that because it's our plant.
Oh, we the ones
Yes,
that put out.
yes,
Oh, they-
yes.
oh.
It's part of their contract to keep the plan up to date and to
Sure,
maintain it. And
sure.
David always goes out and gets all kinds of bids for us to approve.
Okay. Okay.
And the next line item is the thickener pump, which is already approved by you guys and bought. It should be here this week and installed in the beginning of next month. And then line item 110 is a dumping station. That's something we need up there for most wastewater treatment plants have. Well, let me give you like an example of where the boats go up to the station right there and they pump their stuff into the sewer system. Currently, we have no way of putting that stuff into our sewer system, like for pumper trucks, if they're emptying out the
Porta potties?
porta potties. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. Emptying out the porta potties and stuff like that, or stuff that is brought in from Two Harbors or stuff. There's nowhere dumping that. They've been dumping it in the drying bed temporarily, and that's not acceptable. I mean, that's a health hazard and stuff like that. We've been actually putting it in our basin, but then you're adding all the toiletry items and stuff like that into the basins too, and it can ruin the pumps and stuff. So a dumping station, we're asking that a dumping station be put in like at a normal wastewater treatment facility where they just come up and pump it into the beginning of the system. It goes through the rotor screens and everything where it gets all the big material out, and then it can go through the process.
Okay.
Electrical panel, this was part of the SCADA system. The Catherine Booster Station down there has a panel that's like from the 1950s, and we want to incorporate it into the SCADA system and everything so we can monitor the Catherine Booster Station. And this is to replace the whole panel and everything like that. Add new VFDs for the pumps down there and make them more automated so they're more efficient too. Okay, and then the last line item is the piping at both the Whitley and the Hill Street booster stations. Currently it's PVC and it's got sun damage. We're constantly going up there and having to repair it all the time because it's busting open or breaking and everything like that. And this is to replace it with stainless steel or PPPE. Wait, stainless steel more than likely. That's what we'll go with. And it's replacing the piping up there so it's more stable and we don't have all the problems with them ruining. And when the piping breaks and stuff like that, if you don't get up there in time, pump might run dry or ruin the pump. So this will bring the piping system up to date. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
Did you total this, have you totaled up how much money in particular this one department is requesting?
Yes, and I have that on another spreadsheet. Let's see if I have that with me.
And David, you did skip over,
Did I?
yeah,
Oh, the Sunday equipment.
108, yeah.
I'm sorry. The Sunday equipment is, per the permit, we have to do receiving water testing. And the Sunday equipment that we have right now is pretty outdated. And then luckily we had to send it out already once and to get it fixed. And this would be newer equipment that so that we can do our, per our permit, do the receiving water testing out there where the outfall is and everything.
So do you do the testing at the outfall?
At the outfall, and well, there's 6 different stations where we test out there where we have to drop the Sunday equipment in. It tests dissolved oxygen, pH, and all that stuff from the top to the bottom and back up. We do that once a quarter. Part of the permit.
Who would have known?
Wow. Well, thank you for that wonderful news.
Where was wonderful news? I missed it.
So
The good thing is most of these, all these are one-time shot. Once these are done, the system would be pretty good shape.
And how much is that one shot deal?
Well, I passed out something called one-time expenditures detail. And if you Go to the third page, under proprietary funds. It is added up by fund. So Fund 107, let's see, if we move
was
10,
575,
yeah,
those three, it's the
Correct.
132, 240, and 203?
correct.
Okay. Piece of cake, shall I write the check now or later?
Most of the expenses are for the SCADA system, that it'll make everything more automated and everything.
Yeah.
Save money in the long run, protecting the pumps and all that stuff, and make sure we have no spills. It'll hook up a whole new alarm system and everything.
Yeah. No, it's,
All right, any questions?
The only other question I would have is that there's no priority on actually any of these.
All high.
Yeah, we did, they're pretty much all high.
We can certainly go through that. in
Yes, we
some
could.
ways.
Well, I think we need to, considering what our ending number is right now.
well, yeah, I mean, and it could be as soon as between now and, I mean, if we had to do a check, you could get every one of those things done within the next 3 months, probably?
I wouldn't go as far as to say 3 months, but
Sick by the end of the fiscal year?
yes.
Okay. So I guess kind of in along with her, is there anything that could eke over into July 1 of 2015?
Yeah, and I think a lot of this stuff, because of where we are and the timing, we could definitely have some things start and then continue beginning in July. We'll find that with a lot of stuff. So we will prioritize that. So David, we'll task you with that, and then we can see where we can spill into the next fiscal year.
So Dave, I'm sorry, I'm a little tardy, sorry folks.
That's okay, my
On the valve systems, did you guys talk about?
Oh, the saltwater valves.
The
yeah,
saltwater
did you-
valves? And I
Yeah,
know
I'm
we've
sorry,
been-
they moved that to a different section just temporarily, but that amount got lowered because
Okay.
we're gonna make it into a couple phases. So I'm not sure the exact figure.
Where are we on that
Oh, number 4,
number
right?
4?
The saltwater utilities valve and fitting replacement? That
Okay.
Duck valves?
The
Yeah.
First page,
$550,000.
project number 4, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
But proposed for this year is only 75,000.
That was reduced from 150 due to just the question that was asked earlier, could we get it done in time by June 30th?
So the phases that we're gonna do, or how many valves are gonna be done? Is it 10, 12?
Yeah, it looks like they got 10 valves each right here. It looks like it put down 10 right here.
Okay,
It looks like that 10 needs
It's
to be
about 10
reduced.
10 valves
It's
per-
probably 5
Okay.
Yeah,
for
that seems like a lot
75,000.
for that. Yeah.
because I know that's a big thing because we're having problems isolating
Yes, exactly.
the city, and it seems to be a big problem every time we have something
Yes,
come
and the
down.
main thing we're going to concentrate first on, and we've already gone through, and me and Dennis, and we've determined where each valve's going to go, and we're going to isolate downtown first, and so we can do each section down there, so in case, especially in case of like summer or something like that, if we have to isolate a section, we can isolate that section and not have to do the whole downtown.
You don't have to shut down the whole town
Yeah.
just to isolate one part of the town.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Because I know that was always a big priority.
Yeah, and I couldn't wait to get these valves done, so I hate having to.
And
do that.
exactly, you know how many valves we do have in town? Do you know off the top of your head?
How many brand new ones?
Yeah.
Well, the ones that inline valves that we did were 15 of them, but since then we've added 4 more,
Okay.
so 19 new valves.
Okay. Because that usually basically shuts down most of the town if that's not, if we can't isolate, right?
Yeah, actually, right now there's only like 7 different sections we can isolate.
Right, so then it shuts
So-
down the sewer, it shuts down all
With this
that.
next phase, we should be able to isolate pretty good. At least increase that and probably double it.
Okay.
And then from a financial point of view, like a sewer infrastructure one or all those different things, somehow then you put them in a line item, whether it be the sewer fund, the infrastructure fund, the WWT, the saltwater fund, saltwater infrastructure, you know how to divide that $600,000 up and put it where it goes here? Is that what happens?
Yes, everything that we've just described is in this big sheet here. So it's within those funds as well as everything that's detailed in the one-time expenditure sheet. So it all flows. to the sewer fund line item here. And as you can see, with these expenditures, the sewer fund will require a loan from the general fund of about $52,000 at this point.
That's the married thing.
Correct.
Okay. And we have, out of all of those, we end up with, at the end of the day, in sewer and salt and whatever, we have how much?
A leftover?
Yeah.
Well, sewer, I haven't, let's see. Well, if you look at those as being married, so for all funds or just?
Everything related to Dave.
Okay. So at the end, in terms of cash in the bank, it's going to be about $80,000 cash in the bank for sewer and salt water at the end of the fiscal year.
If we
That's-
spent everything. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it's really going to be important to know what he wants for next year. If we only know we're going to have 80, or we need to look at our fees desperately, because $80,000 is not a lot of money, right?
It's not.
No. Okay. Okay.
And when you're spending on one-time expenditures, that is what's happening here.
Right.
And we're also eating into one-time expenditures with operations as well, or eating into reserves with one-time with CDO-related expenses.
Right.
Which
But, yeah. But it would be curious to see what you're really going to be looking at for the following year also, before we can, I mean,
Yeah, we
and
can
try to move
certainly
forward.
look into, and we've got a 5-year outlook kind of already in
Oh,
place.
okay, okay.
we've got we can do an operational 5-year plan or more, and then I know Dennis has a 10 to 20-year cease and desist order capital improvement plan. So that's more of a capital infrastructure.
I mean, because truly, fees should go up at some point sooner than later.
You think so?
Okay. And I don't know when and how we do that, but if you know, do we decide on that today? Let's go. No. But,
Schedule a 218 hearing and
yeah.
Well, we were going to actually pay for a fee study so that you'd have an idea as to what you should be.
That comes out of
It's
our
just the
little
general-
$80,000.
So you wouldn't be going into it blind, and you wouldn't, we all would be educated, and then, right, we'd have to have
Okay.
a public hearing and all that good stuff.
Just the time, it's just frustrating, the timing of, and I know it's your frustration too, but it's just the timing on it. I mean, we got so many things we got to do before we can move forward, and that's very frustrating, because that's something that, unless we said, let's do that today or whatever, unless you've already got it in the plans, and then how much is that study going to cost? And then, it's just, it's like, it's hard to wait when there's so much to be done.
Yeah.
we live in the state of California.
I know. Put it on the next
And,
agenda.
and
Go
just to refer to you on that third page of the one-time expenditures, you'll see the rate analysis is in the saltwater sewer fund, saltwater and sewer, as well as stormwater and solid waste. Stormwater isn't on this page, but we have $15,000 for each type to review, to have
OSHA's on that page, I'm
analyzed.
sorry.
So that you wouldn't be taking it from fund balance, it already is included in the budget.
Right. Can and you're taking that out of the general fund or out of the fund?
I'm taking out of 15,000 out of sewer, 15 out of
Okay,
salt,
yeah.
15 out of refuse, and then
Okay.
stormwater is linked to general fund, so
Oh, okay.
it's really general fund money.
Okay. All righty. Well, you were very thorough.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
Okay, Dennis,
Do you have any more questions?
Thank you.
Dennis is now with us too. Thanks, Dennis. So, Gina, where do you want to go back to? Where
Let's see, I
do
believe.
you want to resume?
Okay. How do you feel, Dennis?
You were late, though. This is the boat?
I think one question that did come up, Dennis, was on 2C for the other water-related expertise, $475,000 for total project cost, and we assumed it had to do with purchase of a desal unit.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, great.
We've had several vendors contact us, and the prices range from 300 to 700. All depends how much we want to produce.
About 375 acre feet a year.
That'd be nice. It'd be great.
But we've not set aside any of those amounts in the budget that's proposed, so it's just,
That's correct.
just so you have an idea what the total cost is.
Okay.
So the 40,000 that's there is for consortium contribution and hydrologists at this
Right,
point.
right. So going back to the capital improvement project list, though, do you know where we left off, so that now Dennis is here, we can start marching down?
Well, actually, those are all non-Dennis related. So we could go through that and have him rest for a moment.
Okay?
Okay. So if we turn to the last page of your CIP, it's City Hall improvements. And the big project here under admin is renovating the council chambers. And what our first plan is to identify a conduit from the control room to the monitors as well as to the dais. So first phase is just creating that, and we anticipate that could be as much as $10,000. Dennis is going to be working on that to see if he can reduce that. Because currently the conduit that we have flowing from the control room is not enough space was created for the wiring to go through to handle HDMI and VGA feed. So we could have our monitors here working well, but it wouldn't be able to handle the upgraded equipment that we have, that we would be purchasing. And we anticipate those purchases to be about $27,000, and that is upgrading what we have, making it current day, providing better microphones, etc., better equipment, easily monitored equipment for sound and visual. The viewing audience at home will have multiple cameras, in a sense, to be able to view, and also a view of the PowerPoint screen here. We're anticipating it would be a view of a PowerPoint presentation for anybody in the audience. The podium will be a technology base for a laptop and a PowerPoint presentation. And we are aware the conduit actually to the podium isn't sufficient, but we're going to do the best we can with what we have there. We don't want to break into concrete. And that's what we're pretty much sitting on right now. And let's see, the second phase that we have here is adding computers to the dais. And this is where the wiring with the conduit that we lay down with the $10,000 will create the pathway for that, for future decisions, whether or not you'd like monitors here on the dais to be able to see the PowerPoint presentation or an active computer. The first phase, what it'll do, it'll provide monitors on the walls for you to view at this point in time, potentially over there. It hasn't been finalized over here. Or dual monitors up where the existing ones are, one facing you and one facing the audience.
Okay.
What's not included in here are lighting improvements and air conditioning improvements. And this particular item, Dennis has another item you saw earlier, $45,000 to air condition the entire room. And that would also include, what we would definitely need about $3,000 to air condition the new equipment and Dudley in the new AV room. I've added software on here, which normally I wouldn't add software to a capital improvement, but this is an important upgrade. It's the viewing audience, the view of the council meeting. So most cities at this time have video streaming. So you're able to log on or go to the website, click onto a page that is linked immediately to the city's website, and you'll have a small video viewing, and on the side and below, access to hyperlinks to the council agenda. And while you're live, they could actually see the council agenda as the council meeting is going on. When it's a replay, you would actually hit a hyperlink of the council agenda item you're interested in seeing, and the video will go directly to that moment in the council meeting.
I almost think it's more important for the after-the-fact viewing when you're trying to tie in a discussion to the item itself. That seems to be the question that we get most somebody's watching it, hey, how far in, what, you know, it
Yes.
would be very nice.
And that's an estimate there, $15,000. We could get the basics probably for last. There are agenda software environments that we can actually get along with this that may make it easier in the background for staff to get that all set up. And I should indicate that we are looking at some issues that we've had recently with the video going out. It's been offline and also stops. And we've been checking the speed to see if it's the internet bandwidth that we have. And it does seem to be slowing. Catalina Broadband is looking at that. And we're requesting to have extra anything on the night of council meetings so that we can get that through. But that's a conundrum that's unique for the city and for the island. And as we go down, let's see, IT infrastructure. The item 126 is $25,000 for an email exchange server. When we did our original IT assessment, we wanted to provide, go from 1999 to 2010, just say. We're in 2010 Outlook in Microsoft Office, but we wanted to get us up to date and with the least cost possible. So we went with a cloud solution for Microsoft Outlook 365. And that presents a bit of a difficulty when you do have internet issues. So when we're down here with the internet, we can't email each other. Whereas if we had the server environment, which isn't cloud-based, we could at least email each other here. We couldn't necessarily receive email coming in, being that the internet is down overall. So this will provide efficiencies when we do have down.
It's also, it would improve the performance markedly
Yes.
as well, because if we're having to go from here, out there, come back here. I mean, it's very, for the setup that we have, the response is slow.
Yes.
Because it's cloud-based, because we're over here geographically limited, so
That's,
Yeah.
yes, exactly.
it's very frustrating.
Can we get some carrier pigeons?
If it would improve the performance, I'd be all for it.
And this cost, I should say, is for the box, it's for the license, it's for backup, and this is standard for the server environment. And again, another side note, one reason why we went to the cloud, we thought it would be easier to maintain. So when you have a server in-house, it brings on another dimension in terms of maintenance. It's more of a physical here item, so we'll have to look at that as well.
And who will do the maintenance?
I believe that Pat will be responsible for it still. I think that parts of it he could do even remotely.
Yes.
You know, there may be times when somebody needs to, under Pat's instruction, go, you know, flip this, flip that. But for the most part, I bet he can handle it either when he's here or when he's remote.
So we had a meeting, remember, well, I don't know what the meeting was, and he was saying it looked like it was going to be something for $170,000. Remember he met with us in the...
Phase 2 of the IT upgrade.
Right, so is any of this phase 2 of the IT upgrade?
Actually, none of this is part of the phase 2 of the upgrade in terms of the basics. Let's see if I have that detailed here for you. I can get you, I do have that detail for the full 150, I think it's $158,000.
Okay.
Portions of it are the SunGuard prior year compact data conversion for $5,000. And that's on the final page of the detailed expenditure sheet. And yeah, I can go through this. Centric time card software, the ongoing costs, $2,000. The Centric HR model, $3,000. And we've got staff, his staff time is $55,000. And the IT, the computer equipment and email exchange, I believe that is a part of that $158,000 as well. Let's see. The one document I didn't bring with me, I could have detailed it all out to you. But yes, we do have it detailed out. It is slightly higher than $150,000 though. But the AV audiovisual it is related to IT, but we didn't put that in the same bucket as IT.
Bucket was overflowing.
Yes.
What's the difference between a project manager and an IT advisor?
IT advisor is Pat, project manager is me. That's the difference. So it's basically coordinating everything in terms of various projects here and identifying the to-do lists that are required.
So 250 plus these others are pretty much.
Yeah, I have to say, project manager is not included in the $158,000. So that's associated with budget and finance and other related projects.
Gina, I'm sorry, I was
Yes.
reviewing something else. I missed you. Where's the 158,000 detailed out?
I'll have to get that for you. It's
Oh,
on another
okay.
spreadsheet that I
Okay.
have. I didn't
That's
bring
why I
that.
don't see it.
And then 158 is, oh, it's the.
It's on the other
The
spreadsheet.
IT stuff, right.
Like I said, I provided just enough detail, and I knew you'd ask a tough question. So I have that for you, though.
I don't know. I don't know how to prioritize this stuff because I just like to have better lighting.
Well,
But,
that's, there you go right there.
I
I mean,
mean,
if some of these things are less, I mean, this is what you guys need to decide. I mean, I know it's also invariably hot in here sometimes. I know that we get a lot of complaints from the public about trying to track what is being discussed with the
I
video, so,
I just
but we don't
started-
have to do everything.
I just started with something simple. So, I mean, and you all know where I am technologically, so I'm learning to speak into my mic. So,
Well, I think this is sort of a wish list in general. So our job will then be to help
Break it down.
Yeah.
say
Well,
what we
I-
do have budget for, because we clearly don't have enough money to do this entire
yeah.
packet of wish lists.
But the air conditioner makes us all think better, makes us more relaxed.
There's some wisdom there.
Well,
It
I'm
gets pretty
wondering just
uncomfortable up
about
here.
doing something with these windows where the heat doesn't come in, you know? I mean, this is,
Which we could break down, I guess.
Well, and Dennis and I talked about that at one point. You remember just putting blinds on those windows up there?
We put some foggy stuff on it that kind of reduced the glare in order to.
that was
Somebody
Christmas
just-
snow.
I thought they were just
Let's get
dirty.
the vote. Ms. Marshall?
Yes.
I think it would also be helpful for staff to list their priorities on these projects, so we have a starting point to find out.
That's true.
If we've got to do some cutting,
Yeah.
let's find out what they think is important.
Yeah, well, we started off this document with priorities, and we need to
Snuck away.
be comprehensive in that, so we will do that.
Be sure to get Dudley in on that too, all that text,
Air conditioner.
audio,
air
visual.
And then last meeting that we had, we ended after page 1. So were we planning to go through the,
Yeah, like starting at storm drain or one of those.
Which-
We stopped at about sand replenishment, didn't we?
I have a couple more on the last page. We can go through that really quick.
Okay.
Recreation improvements, 128, a camera system, and this is something that was brought up for Tremont Hall and other areas where items are dumped potentially, and security issues. And this $5,000 is for the fiber that would allow us to view if that were the case, and not necessarily a camera system associated with that. It would obviously link into the one we currently have. But this is just a preliminary look at that. And then 129 is a portable pool for $10,000. That's, I believe, soup to nuts for that.
Again, back to the fiber. So you're putting the lines in, but we have no way to see?
Camera system?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, no, this is basically investigating. It's a plug number for me in terms of, traditionally it costs about $5,000 to get the fiber line laid down.
Okay.
So anything technology to be able to view. And then it wouldn't necessarily mean we would be spending that by June 30th if you were interested in this. And then the next year would be additional cameras.
What do you think the additional cameras are? Because
That's a good question. I wouldn't know at this point in time. I haven't done an estimate on that.
okay.
It depends on how the areas, whether it's all these areas, Tremont, specific areas outside City Hall, and areas identified for security. So it's looking at
Okay.
that and maximizing the view.
Okay.
But that 5,000 is really kind of that analysis of that.
Right. And the swimming, the portable pool, that's just totally shot time for a whole brand-new one, right? It's not,
That's
it's
a
not
brand new
just a
one.
liner?
No,
Yeah.
no, that's a new
Okay.
one. And you wanted me to go back to the first page?
Yep.
Okay.
Second.
Second page?
Do we get to storm drain lids already? We did that? And how do we fund those? Just on page 112 and 13? We don't like,
Storm drain is not funded, but if we were to fund it, it would come directly from the general fund.
okay. And is that a priority at all? It doesn't seem to have a priority given to it.
We need to assign priorities. I mean, my mistake. I thought that we had put priorities throughout the document, and we obviously did not, so we need
Okay.
to do that.
Okay,
We have some, but not all.
right, okay.
Our mistake.
No problem.
So we'd already gone through all the roadway section on page 2.
No.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
We did?
Yeah, we did. And we
Okay.
did,
Oh, yes, we did.
quite a few of the general infrastructure items, but I do have a question. I'm sorry, we did go through the general infrastructure items, but I do have a question back on the purchase of the E-bus. And I guess I'm just unclear about how this purchase of the E-bus works. How much money is the city going to need to put out for the purchase of the E-buses?
About 250K.
That's our match.
That's our match of it. Okay.
No, that does not, well, remind me on this one. Dennis, do you remember if that includes your slab for the charging station? Is that's part, the grant funds can be used for that too, right?
Yes.
Okay, so the charging infrastructure and the slab can be paid for from the grant funds, right?
I don't believe so. I
don't
believe
believe
that's
so?
just, the grant fund is just for the vehicles.
Okay.
And that's why we budgeted separate monies for the slab, right below it on
You want
20B.
to go grab Audra real quick on that one, just to make sure, because
Yeah, so I think what's confusing for me is that we have 1.275 for the purchase of the E-bus, 40 for the slab and stations, and 120 for the operations and maintenance. But that's not all coming out of our budget. You're suggesting that only 255,000 of that is coming out of our budget.
No,
But then,
line 20A is just for the bus, and that's 255,000 just for the buses.
okay, right. What I'm saying is that there's $1.5 million that we're looking at for these 3 line items for the E-buses. But of that 1.5, we're probably going to need to come up with $500,000.
Well, the 10-year operating's per year.
Right, that,
So what we need to come up with is the 250, the 40, and 12,000.
but this is, I mean, it's $120,000 a year for the operation and the maintenance.
No, it's $120,000.
I'm sorry. Sorry.
$12,000 a year.
$12,000.
So we need about 300,000.
So we need about 300,000. So I'm just curious as to,
there's also some question if any of that was encumbered from the year prior, and I don't know that we definitively know that. We initially had believed that we'd set aside 95,000 in last year's budget to help get this to that match.
Correct.
So, hey, Audrey, just real quick, on the E-bus grant, is any portion of that allowed for use for building the slab and purchasing charging infrastructure? Remind me?
No,
Not at all.
no. So the chargers come with the buses. So envision like a golf cart charger on
Okay,
a
so we don't-
large
so we don't-
scale.
we
Those
don't
come
need-
with them.
Okay, so we don't need to purchase chargers, is what you're saying, right?
No, but we need the electricity. The slab. Well, I don't know if we necessarily need a slab, but we definitely need 3-phase power. Is a requirement to charge them.
Okay, so the only infrastructure is making sure that we have appropriate power at the location where it is going to be
Right.
charged. So $40,000 could purely just be for a slab.
Yes.
Okay.
Adding power to the slab.
Okay.
And then the rest, and then there's 250 approximately in city match, and then the rest is grant funds.
Right.
okay, so then on the proposed project for 14-15 budget, we don't have that $12,000 for the operation maintenance, which probably won't be a whole year's worth. but we also don't have that 250,000 in that column.
No, we're, at this point, we are waiting for the MTA audit to finish, and we had originally had 95,000 in 13-14 budgeted for that, which really means we're not spending the full amount of the MTA subsidies. So at this point, we're not seeing the 95,000 there, and Chris is working, he's giving us some news as we speak, and we're gonna wait till he gets back and research that with him to see where that necessarily went. And if that's the case, I was hoping 95,000 last year, 95,000 this year would give us a chunk of it for the yes.
And what is our bus project timeline? Where are we in all of this?
We finally were able to get the agreement between Metro and the city approved through our legal department. I was just on the phone with them when Dennis came in and got me, so that's really good news. Once the contract is fully executed with Metro, then we will then issue a contract to the bus company. And then after that contract is issued, there's a 4-month lead time. So because of some contract issues with Metro, it set us back. We were hoping that we would take delivery of the buses in December, and that would give us time to put them into service and get the kinks out before summer. We're looking at now a delivery date of June. So it would be my vision that perhaps those buses would run in tandem with the trolleys while we figure out how all of it is going to play out, so we're not doing a whole new service in the middle of our high season. Does that make sense? See how the buses, how much charge it takes and where we're going to have to stage them and how all that's going to work, because we'll have 3 buses and potentially we'll have 2 on the streets and 1 as a backup, so there'll have to be some swapping out.
And those will be on the road the same time the other ones will be on the road while we work out the bugs?
I know that's not the best scenario, but I think it's probably better than trying to put these brand new buses on the road.
The short
and
answer is
not-
we haven't really talked about
Right.
how that would
And this
even
isn't the
work,
place
so.
to talk about it, but
Right.
timing is important.
The timing's not optimal, but it is what it is.
We just got the MTA to agree to pay us lump sum rather than staggered over 3 years. So now that we have that, we also have to work out the timing of the contract with Catalina Transportation and how that fits in with this too. So there's a lot of moving pieces, but yeah,
Yeah.
at least the award has been addressed.
Great.
Yeah, that was a bigger struggle than anticipated.
Yeah.
So, but it's done. It's all good.
When does the grant expire?
They're local funds. I don't really know. They're programmed over 3 years. They're going to be budgeted in this current fiscal year. So,
So we could buy
3 years.
them anytime in
yeah.
15, 16?
Yeah. After we made a big stink about wanting to buy them now, we could do that. Yeah.
Well, because of the timing issue, I mean, does it make sense to have twice as many vehicles on the road in the summertime? Does it just...
No, and perhaps I mean, that's definitely a thought.
Yeah, and we never did discuss having 2 buses.
No, that was
was-
just me talking out of turn.
But
trying
it
to-
makes sense, because you have this new vehicle, you've got to figure out what it's going to be. I'm not sure we want to start in the summertime.
No,
Right,
we
and that's-
probably don't.
Right. But that doesn't say that we can't just start them and trial run them, maybe 1 or 2 days a week in the summer, and then, put them into full service after the heavy season. I mean, there's all kinds of different ways, but like Ben said, those are things that we can figure out later.
Okay, and then, let's just take it a little bit further, and maybe will be in another budget. So it's gonna cost us $1,000 a month, right? 12,000? No, it's gonna cost us, what did you figure?
$1,000 a month.
Okay.
Per maintenance.
Okay. And then there needs to be the battery replacement, be able to generate money for battery replacement, because I think they said those are $80,000 a
Yeah, and
bus.
they're and the minimum lifespan of the batteries are 7 years. That's their anticipated lowest lifespan. So that means they could potentially last 10, 12 years. And I think back to how we're going to fund that could be things that we look at when we're looking at the contract.
Right. And our guys are going to maintain them, so we could look at some of their staff, their time going into this as well when we try to figure out how we're gonna do the money thing.
That was the original plan. Was
Right,
that since it's such a big capital investment on the city's part, we wanted to have control over the maintenance of the vehicles. And eBus is going to offer the training free of charge to our mechanics.
Do you recall, do we have an estimate for the monthly electricity? I mean, that's a big chunk of this $1,000 a month, right?
Yeah, I didn't put that number in there, so
that your estimate
to be
then?
honest with you, I'm not,
Okay.
familiar with that number. I don't know if that's everything, if that's
I
wear
think that's
and
mostly,
tear and.
I think that's largely electricity. Because there won't be a whole lot of other
Right.
expense at first.
No gasoline?
No.
And no water to wash them. Okay, thank you.
Got it?
And I think, Annie, what you're getting to is a multi-year CIP with operational costs. That's actually the next step in the
Okay.
process.
Okay.
So it's an excellent question. And what we're doing now is the total project cost is kind of getting to what that long-term nugget is. But if there is one that you definitely want as a high priority, we can do that multi-year and then show how the revenues fall. along
It's
the
just,
way.
you know, it's just scary to think that all of a sudden the bus shows up. I mean, I like your thought about waiting until after summer, but the bus shows up and we go, whoops, and
And that would never be, yeah. We will,
I know.
Yeah.
We're getting, it's, I'm looking forward to the forward thinking that the staff has now, you know, instead of the,
You know, what you could do is you could, in addition to your maintenance line, put a battery replacement fund and put 14 grand a year in that.
exactly.
set it aside.
No,
Yeah.
it'd actually be 42,000 because it's 3 buses.
$85,000 a bus, yeah,
Yeah,
for each one.
yeah,
And it says here every 10 years, so,
yeah.
which
7 to
probably
10.
is,
Who insures those buses?
We're self-insured.
Oh, so that's how it's covered. Okay.
So somebody might own a city.
Okay.
And this will most likely be a part of the vehicle replacement fund, the batteries.
It's just nice to have them by project, kind of, too, instead of all over the place, for me anyway, you know, and all the costs related to that one thing, you know. But anyway, just to kind of visualize it better.
Definitely.
Go ahead.
And so eBus, any additional eBus questions for Audra? Or any grant-related questions regarding the fuel dock or Cabrillo Mole? Okay.
yeah, I do have a, well, maybe this isn't a budget thing, no. No, it's not, as a matter of fact. Thank you.
And let's see, I think we're on the second page, Cindy, did you want to?
Yeah, so now we would be at the added items not itemized yet, starting with the City Hall roof repair.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Dennis, I think this is your area. Number 26.
Yeah, we have some structural issues to deal with. City Hall, Finance Department, the roof is sagging and dry rotted, a couple leaks. $9,000 is a conservative estimate. Had to go to public bid. If we could possibly do it in-house, we'd save a few $1,000s. Or internally, we'd save a few $100,000.
Doesn't that appear to be important? High
We
priority.
have a leaky roof. We can continue to put tarps on it.
Doesn't rain anymore, so.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
only important when it
And
rains.
how, I mean, really, I mean,
But how hokey, I don't know what color the tarp is now, maybe it's not even up there at all when I said that, but that blue tarp on that roof looks.
You want to guarantee it rains? Start the repair.
Yes,
That's
start
very
tomorrow.
No,
Okay.
not tomorrow. No clouds around. About November 1st.
You got it.
Dennis, so we have the skilled people to do that within the
It
city?
requires hot mopping to do
Uh-huh.
it properly, and I would say no, but we could probably put a Band-Aid on it for a couple of years.
Okay.
But that's kind of scary, we're getting all this fancy equipment and all this stuff, and you got those rooms full of all that high-tech stuff. It seems kind of scary that if,
when we prioritize this would probably be one of the ones that would be towards the top, considering it's it's less than $10,000, and you're right, it would be silly to buy a bunch of IT equipment and then not,
Not secured.
that would be pretty silly,
Yeah.
so.
Correct. Okay.
What, and I know it's not on our budget for this year, but the city hall landscaping, what's the idea behind this? I know there's no item budgeted for it, but it's on here.
I added it solely because I think City Hall should look nice, and I wanted to list it for you people to consider. Depending upon what you want, the price would fluctuate, you know, like crazy. We could put AstroTurf back here.
We're looking to reallocate some resources as well, so that it just, the general appearance of City Hall, I don't think is what it should be. I think that we've got the folks that can make it look like it should. It's our most valuable asset next to the mall. That's where people come.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a nice building. We should keep it and treat it like it is a nice building.
So is there something up?
Near the outside, cosmetic and.
Outside and inside, but mostly, the outside, I don't think that, considering where we're located and the drought, we're not looking to obviously, add lawn and, we would want to have endemics and drought tolerant plants, but it's not where it should be. And so we're working on that.
So we can get stuff that's deer proof food.
And be artificial.
Makes them a little different. That the deer don't eat every time. We could
rocks.
Calculate that. Or cactus or something. Whatever
that's
it may
actually.
be.
I don't think cactus is a bad idea.
Either or. Somewhere along the line
we have a lot of it here on the island.
And it's not a priority for me, but that's okay.
Okay.
Just on the plant, anything.
No, I know.
Once it starts raining,
Yeah.
it's all of that's going to look better because this is pretty low tolerant or high tolerant stuff
Low maintenance
already,
stuff.
I think. So yes, I love a pretty city hall, but I'm not as visual as some. So
Could I go back up to 25?
landfill.
Landfill. Part of the deal with CR&R is that they were going to extend the landfill to like 50 years through a new compactor and through getting an increase in the height limit of the landfill.
Did you say 50, 50?
50. Yeah. Yeah, they were going to. They were going to get the compactor, which was going to increase, and they were going to raise the height of the landfill, the permitted height of the landfill, and it was going to be like 40 to 50 years.
I don't think
Thought it
so
was
much,
10.
but I don't know where you got the 7 years, Gina.
That was.
They have a lot of issues.
The landfill? Mm-hmm.
They haven't even got their baler yet. It's been over a year. But that's a whole nother ball.
I don't think 7 is the right number.
I'm not really happy with that.
You think it's
Anyway.
longer?
Definitely is.
As soon as they get the compactor put in.
Somewhere between 7 and 50.
Okay. I'll go for
That'd be 21 and a half. Is that?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so we were on 25 going back to 28.
We're at the cemetery.
Yes.
Cemetery?
Well, I just took the next one down, but those three, unless there's questions, those three items aren't in the projected budget for next year.
Correct.
They're just long-term.
The fence.
So I don't know if anybody else has questions on those, but we're not looking at those for this year's budget.
And some of it we may be able to achieve, just like I said, by reallocating some resources that we have currently. I think that we could make City Hall look better just by applying some man or woman power that we're not doing as effectively as we could right now. So you want to go to 28?
On the Fairway, Fairview side, fence is lacking. We need to replace a lot of it, put in, restructure the chain link fencing. So that's what that was. We're going to try to do as much internally as we can. So that's about it. Actually, we'll be checking the whole perimeter of the fencing at the cemetery for the 12,000.
Let me just ask a question on the cemetery, because I don't know when else if there's another time we'll discuss that. Is there another time we discuss cemetery on it other than this?
Who doesn't want to talk about cemetery right now?
Yeah. Okay, so what's the status in terms of space available for coffins versus niches versus just the little sign-in things? You can get back to us. I'm not going to, is there room to grow?
The expansion we're doing right now, for the land part of it, we're going to run out of space for full-size burials. We haven't plotted it out yet. I can't give you an exact number of how many full-size plots are going there. Niches, I think we can keep adding for along all the walls. I mean, it's going to take us, money to keep putting those in, but, and the memorial wall plaques we can add those everywhere also. So I can't give an exact number on any of that, Annie.
Okay, so I guess my question is, because I always wonder how a cemetery can tend to people for thousands of years after their demise, or hundreds of years. And do the fees for any of those things, have they ever gone up? Or
Yes, they go up in your fee schedule that comes to council they go up the CPI.
And that's it. So we can't look at that again until next year?
Next year. We just adopted those fees, didn't
Right.
we?
And they just went up.
we just adopted those.
Yeah.
But they've been going up just a little bit in the CPI.
Right.
And we do have guidelines for full burials and for anything in our cemetery.
Right.
That was established by a cemetery committee, I believe in 2002.
Do
Okay.
we still have a cemetery committee?
No.
No.
When I came on, Richard, that committee no longer existed.
Okay.
They just did all the guidelines and
Right.
passed that on to the
Okay.
department.
Because do we know how much it costs to operate that? Have we ever done an analysis of staff and blah, blah, and utilities to say what it costs us a year to maintain that facility? Do we have that anywhere?
Not to my knowledge, I don't.
No.
But we could determine that. We know that it occupies a good chunk of Gabby's time and a good portion of Denise's time, and there's also some maintenance folks. So we could determine that amount.
Yeah. And then when they could dig the hole and then they fill it up and the
Yeah,
water.
we charge
and
for all that.
Right.
But the water,
Yeah,
well,
but it's kind of a one.
now it's
Andy,
dead.
do you not remember this conversation when we were doing the fees?
Well, yes, I do. But now but now everything is a little more serious.
Yeah.
No, now we've been
Well,
here a
that was
while.
not serious conversation when we had that, for sure. I just want to say on the building of the new cemetery section, I'm not sure what the plans are. Again, it is not in this budget that we're discussing for this year, but would really like to see the city look at something other than grass, other than landscaping that requires water.
I'm glad this isn't called forest lawn.
Right. I mean, I just would like to see, I guess that would be a Dennis thing, just to look at other options besides water.
Then we have
what
to get a
need water
seamstress to
for.
sew the astroturf back together after you cut it to dig the hole.
Well, there's,
Just curious if what do they do in the desert? Okay, without getting this too gross into this conversation.
Get some coyotes and
Are there other surfaces, even if it's not something that's green?
We will investigate that.
Okay.
And I think just to answer part of your question, the one-time expenditures are covered through fees, but the ongoing expenditures aren't covered through fees.
Right.
So it's really a general fund subsidy.
Yes, thank you.
Sure.
31
Okay.
should be Las Casitas. There's an S missing.
plural.
And what do we have left to finish on this project?
Speaking about 31,
Yes.
we have almost all of it to finish. Needs drywall, needs everything. We've finished a little bit of the demo, some plumbing. We have all the electrical to do. Got a lot of handwork, painting, some furnishings.
Maybe some of the confusion is one of the casitas is finished, and
Right.
this is the former Falcon.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why I'm confused,
Yeah.
because we've already put somebody in the
Yes.
casita. That's where I'm thinking it says it has started.
Yes, ma'am.
So
Yeah,
this
I'm
is
sorry.
a second unit that we have.
We have 3, and one the sheriff rents. One, we've got an employee or a contract employee living in, and then this is the third one that's not ready to go yet.
Okay.
And the
So,
thought was that sorry to cut you off, is that we should make this available. It's useless right now because it's sitting there empty, so spend a little bit of money so that we don't have to pay for people to go places. They could be there.
So you think 20 will cover all the work plus the furnishings?
Yes,
Okay.
it could be a hair higher, but I think we can get it for that.
Okay. And we're assuming then with people staying there, we'd basically be getting our money back, 20 grand pretty quickly with all the rents that we pay in hotels and things?
Oh, yes, yeah, right. Because it's about, the cheapest rate we ever get is $90 a night.
Okay.
And that's the cheapest, so.
Okay.
Mhm.
200 actually paid for.
Okay.
Okay. 32?
32 is an idea to recover runoff water. It's hard when you don't get any rain, but you know, as we've been talking about in our community meetings, Mayor, it was just out there for you to consider to do some kind of test facility, maybe in the back here, Field of Dreams area or something to capture some runoff water, treat it, and see what it really needs, what needs to happen in order to make it decent reclaimed water.
Yeah, that was the runoff there was a little comment about runoff in this little report about capturing it, anyway.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's just there for your consideration, like most of this stuff is. That's all it was.
That's good. Ooh, 33.
Oh, there's your air conditioner, Richard.
Yeah.
Per
Thanks,
Ben,
Ben.
it's put in the budget for this year.
Thanks, Ben.
Oh, I don't like being hot.
Is that really the quote for that?
That's
Should see this vendor we have to deal with. It's
Wow, we should
outrageous.
talk about that.
yeah, we'd love to save the money.
Yeah.
It's a
Well,
fairly
we only
big,
knew anybody else that does that.
Good.
it's a fairly big room, and it should be let out for public bid.
I know, that's why I didn't think it was a priority, because it was so expensive.
Do we have a separate meter for this versus the fire department? Are they two separate meters?
I think they're separate. I don't-
Yeah, they are.
I believe they are.
They are
There you go. Ask Rick, you would know.
Yeah, they are. So-
Okay. Someday I would like to know, because I would be curious to look at our electric bills in this facility and theirs in the winter versus the summer, when we've had to turn all these puppies on. I know if we need them, we need them, but,
There's historical data on the bills.
yeah, so I'm kind of curious what those are. I mean, this, didn't build the most efficient building when they built the roofs here, the ceilings.
No, they built the code.
They put a swamp.
Yeah, but they could have gone down how many feet? Maybe that's easier, just take the roof off and lower the roof. You can look up into that too, Dennis.
Okay, be happy to.
Is it on the flat roof, Dennis, or on pitch?
Over here,
It's
where the
on
leak
pitch.
is, it's flat.
Oh, it's flat.
Yeah, well, it's got a real small pitch, and they have tile on it. You know, we need more of a pitch for tile. It was just the wrong application. The membrane below is leaking, and as I said, water's gotten in there, and we have some dry rot. Some of the structural members.
Can you do torch down on it?
I think that's what we're...
Instead of the membrane down below, instead of hot
Yes.
tar?
Yes, sir, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, it's probably.
Yeah.
It's a good application, yeah.
We have a hot mopper on the island now working at Long Beach School.
Oh.
Doing some hot mopping, but he should only be there another 3 or 4 weeks. I asked him to stop by.
Oh, good. That's a great idea. Yeah, have him do it.
I don't know what y'all think about the air conditioning. When do we make the decision?
That's a pretty high estimate, but we have to remember, if I gotta go to a public bid, we're gonna spend 30 to 40% more.
Yeah. Are we going to continue, would you envision still doing the Fujitsus or whatever those systems are? Or are you thinking a bigger central unit like in regular, more traditional?
For this room, I was thinking of one separate central unit for this building only.
This section. Because the ductwork's in already.
It's a different kind of system than the mini splits that are in the other offices.
Yeah.
We could have one of each of us.
No.
Okay, we gotta decide on that. Okay.
Just one by Richard.
Just
Yeah,
one
this
by,
one right here.
going
Just between
this
the
way,
two of
not this
them.
way, because I could, I'm with you, Annie, I could go another year or two without air. Sorry, Richard.
Not me.
Well, I want
That
air.
might,
I
that
want
might
air.
determine who's reelected, based on the air conditioning.
I want air. If it matters.
I think number 33, Dennis?
Parks and Rec, I haven't got with Jen. I was asked to add this for your consideration, and I apologize, we don't have any specific.
What I think this one is, I think this is upgrades to a couple of the, I mean, we only have, what, 2 or 3 parks, but there are some deficiencies in the parks that were observed by Parsec in their audit, and I believe that it's some playground equipment improvements, things that they said that they just don't see in public facilities anymore, that they would like to not see over here, so,
Like a metal slide?
Yeah.
things like that, right, right.
We don't have
What
one
about
anymore.
adding anything? Like,
Oh, it is on that wooden structure, it is metal, huh? Go
I'd
ahead.
love to see some lights put across the street for all the use that gets over there.
Yes.
People's Park over here? Yeah.
Right. It gets used so much, and people bring in their own lights. And I think if the city could figure out some way or grant, just put some lights across the
That's a
street
good idea.
there. I mean, it gets used a lot.
Yes.
People are putting up tables, taking stuff down. Kids are running around. It's dark. I mean, it's just a thought. If we're able to figure that out some way,
Yeah, I agree.
it doesn't look like it will take a lot. But
And,
I
you
don't
know, with the drought lately, I mean, we're losing all the grass.
Sure.
So, you know, depending upon if you want to bring it back, you're going to need to do something there.
Rain dance.
And there's something on the ballot for Parks and Rec, right? And we would get a little,
Continuation of what,
Yeah, there's some
right.
funds that
Right.
may be available.
right, so
Give it back.
it might be waiting for grants or see what else is there.
We could explore right now, though. We could start looking
Yeah.
for that immediately.
If you're done with the CIP, I can quickly go through the
Can we just,
one-time.
real quickly, I don't know if we talked about this before. Did we, I can't remember, the trash cans, did we talk about trash
We
cans
haven't
at
yet.
all? And if you don't want this one, that's fine. But it occurs to me that we could spend a little bit of money along, especially along Crescent Avenue, and buy some trash cans that I think would maybe go a ways to giving the area a cleaner feel. I don't know if that number, $50,000, I mean, we could spend, I think, a fraction of that in this fiscal year and at least make a dent in making that look better. Some of our cans down there are pretty tired. And the type of can that you need to buy for a city is, you know, probably conservatively $500. You know, powder coated, proper lids, manufactured cans.
I believe they're 1,000 each now.
Really?
Inflation.
Dennis, didn't you get some estimates on trash cans?
Yes. Just like about anything else, from $300 to $2,000, depending upon the aesthetic value that you want, the lid, folding, flipping, open.
We know that CR&R is also obligated to provide some recycling bins, so Dennis is
Yes.
working with them on that. They threw out some options. We didn't like the options, so we've gone back to them
Yeah.
for some
They're-
better suggestions.
They're obligated for 10 recycling bins.
Wasn't there some that were solar powered? And I think one of the companies that came over and were bidding on the process a couple of years ago.
Big Belly or something like
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, they had
Yep.
a process where you had the trash can there and it had a solar panel on it, and every time it got to a certain, was filled up so much, it would automatically send a signal and it pushed down on it, and there was, but I don't know how much those would be, but
Wow.
I know there was some kind of solar powered thing that one
Yeah.
of the waste management people, when they're in the process of CC&R doing that stuff.
Thank you.
I
I'll
think-
certainly
no,
look
they,
in.
they were seemed to be like a pretty good idea, but I don't know what the cost is.
I'll look in.
But they're pretty
The big belly
neat.
ones? Okay, did you guys catch
Yeah.
that? Okay.
Pretty neat. They're solar powered.
Yeah.
And anytime it gets to a certain fullness of the can, it pushes down. And I don't know. It's just,
Yeah.
I don't know how much they
Sparks
are.
a flame
Yeah.
Very
and burns
cool.
Yeah, it
it.
was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I think Waste Management or somebody like that was.
I'm certainly not sure the appropriateness of this, but I just want to put it out there that I have the ability to make some connections and pull myself out of it. But make some connections as to some of the commercial vendors that we have. I'm
Yeah,
happy
oh,
to-
you wouldn't be
I'm happy
gaining
to
from
do-
it personally that
No,
I can
I would have
see, so
nothing to
if
do
you're-
with
If you're
it,
just giving
but-
us a lead, then that's,
But I think it
I
would
would,
be,
I would-
I mean, I would at least like to be able to see if I could do something better cost-wise.
I would welcome it. Thank you. Okay.
So how's everybody's energy level? You good?
Good.
Turn into a pumpkin in 19 minutes.
I'm sorry?
Turn into a pumpkin in 19 minutes.
Okay, 90, all right, there we go. Got it. So on this one-time expenditures, I'll quickly go through this because what we'll do is we'll end up going through it in significant detail in the departmental meetings. This is by fund, and some of them are by department, but it's because of Harbor Fund, Harbor Department. So the first page is general fund. And for fiscal year 13-14, I created a department called non-departmental. In most cities, non-departmental is for everything that isn't in recreation, fire, police. It's just kind of a general holding area. And you might also do transfers out from the general fund to other funds. And that's how transfers are handled on the expenditure side of the fund, not the revenue side. So in this case, I've detailed out the base expenditures. Now we'll go in a little detail on the general fund. In other personnel services, that line item is called that for anything related to a personnel related program that has to do with employees specific. In this fiscal year, 14-15, I've placed Dennis's salary in that line item, so it rolls up into payroll because he's actually replacing an employee, not an independent contractor, so to speak, in a professional services line item.
So, I'm sorry, you lost me.
Yes, so I'm just defining other personnel services, what we use that account code for. It's the first page of the one-time expenditures.
Right, I know, but
I'm giving an example. If you've never heard of a line item called other personnel services.
right.
And so in this case, for this department, we're putting miscellaneous HR programs. For training and travel, we're adding quite a bit of money for city travel and training.
Okay.
And that could be on island or off island.
And somewhere it'll be broken down where who gets what of that? How the 30,000 is spread out between all the departments?
And we have another spreadsheet for that. We actually have money. This is independent, this is for Ben, the city manager, to identify any new training that's coming up.
Oh, this is in addition to the other
Correct.
training in each departmental budget, okay.
and that can certainly be removed, of course. I think that one of the priorities the council identified was professionalization of staff and organizational development, so
So
this
it'd be
was
like the
trying to.
community service stuff that goes overall.
Right, exactly.
Okay, I just wanted to understand it better.
But that,
Okay.
you know,
So under professional services, you have the HR manager contract, a portion of project manager contract.
That's you?
Yes, it
Okay.
is. Classification and compensation study that was approved. Proposed cost allocation fee analysis, and I've talked about in the past, that's the next step after the class comp. And I can go into detail when we go into the specifics on that again. Supervisory training and customer service training for $25,000. Recruitment services.
Just real quick, so right now we're spending 10 of that.
Correct.
10 of, and do we have an idea what we're going to spend between now and the end of the year? You were going to do just a supervisor training.
Right,
Separate,
mhm.
yeah, okay.
Right.
All right,
before the end of the year, right, supervisor training is the next thing.
okay. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, sure. And we have recruitment services. It's $15,000. That's for open positions that you have that might be filled by contractors. And you have several of those.
I'm seeing that one with the bringing on of the HR manager. That's probably one that we might be able to just remove.
Okay. Remove it. All right.
Unless we were really headhunting, but, right?
But I don't
Well,
think we are between now and June, and we
yeah,
still have
and
a,
I think that with that extra bandwidth that she brings, I mean, I really don't think that we
Great.
need to have that at all.
Okay, cross it off.
Yeah.
And one-time expenditures, I should let you know, this is my brain on budget.
Yeah,
So it's,
yeah.
what I've done on one-time expenditures is I've taken some things that I think should be presented every year, even though they're in the budget every year. So sales and property tax analysis, that's the HDL contracts. So I'm putting them in the one-time expenditure column, so that's reviewed every year. And some other things, you might look at this and say, well, this is something we've paid for last year. But I have it in this column so that it stands out.
I mean, you touched on something, because some of those should be like an arrow, meaning this is a one-time annual versus this is one thing you think is definitely going to stop this year.
Right.
You know, that'd be kind of nice, but, oh, go ahead.
And again, the reason why this column is like this too is that technically you could delete everything. So its total is 5.2 million. There's no real, let's see, well, we could debate probably some of these, like the stormwater legislation, but some of these are definitely, one-time items, some of them aren't. But I can set this up in a way that says, okay, if you want to delete it, you could delete it, and
I mean,
go
like
from there.
records management software, okay, and so we have it in for this year. But when does that come back to haunt us again that we have to upgrade? I don't know if we upgrade stuff every 2 years, 3 years, he says. So, I mean, knowing those things, that this is, 3.
Yes.
Okay.
And this, I'm sorry. And this is a proposed project, so if we were to go out to bid, find a vendor, they would say, okay, upgrades every 3 years at $2,500. So we could put that in, again, a multi-year spreadsheet to show the impact in that year with the revenue that exists in that year. And that could actually help us determine which software to get, too. Council meeting streaming upgrade, I had mentioned that earlier. And this is where it sits. This is where it sits in the non-departmental and the general fund. Drug-free workplace, we don't have a drug-free program necessarily in place. It's an EAP program, and our new HR manager is going to be helping us with that.
Wait.
It's
Helping who with what?
The city. The city. Currently, we're working on a drug-free policy, and inherent in that drug-free policy required by the federal government in the state of California are certain programs that have to be in place.
And who does the $5,000 go to?
And this will be potentially a bid to a third-party administrator.
So I can just make it real simple. So, okay, if you have a random drug test policy, you test positive, okay, you're given the opportunity to have a second chance, if you will. And the way that you're given a second chance is you're referred to what's called an employee assistance program, an EAP.
Okay.
So that could give you that opportunity.
Okay.
And it'd be through a third-party group, and that's why because we want to roll out the random drug test policy, that would be one I would think that you want to make sure doesn't get cut, because you're going to need to have that as part of it.
Thank
But
you.
other things in here, you definitely could chop out. Like, for example, the amphitheater improvements. I don't think we're going to need to spend $25,000 on the city end to get that started this year. I think that we can solely use private dollars to get that going. There's a number of things in here I think we could sharpen up our pencils on, and we could come back and say, you know what, we've lopped this, and we could probably bring back up. Yes, we could. Yes, we could.
How about the 25% slush fund?
There is no line item for 25% slush fund.
$100,000 in miscellaneous projects out of
Oh, well,
$400,000.
yes, that can completely go away. Absolutely. Yes.
And it looks like that D-cell demo is sneaking in there again. That's actually should be called Other Expertise. I will change that title to Other Water-Related Expertise.
Okay, and then what about the Dave Cleary thing? Should that be there because that would be a one-time professional services for that, or do you put it somewhere else?
Well, actually, this...
Oh, it goes in the fund.
Correct. So that's in the
Okay.
sewer fund.
I'm
This
sorry.
doesn't have a home yet.
Doesn't have a home, okay, doesn't have a bucket.
in terms of a fund. And so the general fund funds everything else that doesn't have a home.
Okay.
And now we're moving on down to transfers, and this is, like I said, transfers out to key funds. Storm drain is becoming more and more expensive due to the MPDS permit that's required over the next few years. So it's we have legal services associated with that, as well as permit processes, and this will include RBF. I've also added a rate analysis. A decision that will have to be made at some point is where's the revenue coming from for this, for the stormwater? And that rate analysis will help us identify how much revenue we have to get.
And the rate analysis, somebody out there in the world, or we do this in-house?
It is actually a very sophisticated
Third party.
spreadsheet model.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. Okay,
And the general fund also supports all other expenditures in the storm drain fund. So I put that line in there. And transfer to Fund 105 City Infrastructure. You'll see some of the CIP items popping up here. Again, general fund transfers to its own capital improvement budget. And that's Fund 105. We separate operating from capital. And Fund 105 has a freshwater resources study at $20,000, Pebbley Beach fencing at $300,000, the E-bus labs and stations at $40,000, amphitheater improvements, which we're going to remove, air conditioning for the chamber, $45,000, Front Street pavers, $35,000, alley improvements, $22,000, museum stairs, $25,000.
okay, so, I'm sorry, so Front Street pavers we're putting here, but we don't put them under, it's not, it's a repairs, not capital. Okay. Okay.
And
Seems like it's gotta be an
a
easy-
good question there is, could it be under harbor? So, and that's one question that we do have outstanding on that.
I think the answer is yes. Okay. That's not good enough? I know, that's that whole.
There's other people that have input into that.
Okay.
And museum stairs at $25,000. And then this is where you see the audio visual. Again, it's this general fund related expenditure. And so that gets transferred to our capital improvement general fund budget. We have,
Full default.
sure.
The museum stairs are 50,000 there, and museum stairs are 25,000.
Yes, that's the last minute change I needed to make on
Oh,
the
okay.
CIP.
The 50 is
Yes,
right.
correct.
No, 50's wrong.
The 50 is wrong. It's going to change
Oh,
to 25.
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay.
This is linked to everything. So, City Hall roof repair at $9,000, casita improvements at $20,000, and then maintenance and repair transferred to that from the general fund to the capital improvement fund for miscellaneous items that come up for repair.
Can I ask a question, please, Mr. Jach? You're shaking your head. Which one were you shaking your head at? You were shaking your head. I just want clarification.
Oh, the museum stairs is gonna be around 50.
Ben thought he could get a deal at 25.
Oh, I'm sorry. There might be something new that I didn't hear.
I was of the opinion that we could do it for less, especially considering until the next fiscal year starts.
Sure. Oh, yeah, to June, of course, the end of June. Right.
So 25 and 25, pretty much, huh? Yeah. Because what do those stairs cost us on Lower Terrace?
Now we're talking, right?
Yeah, weren't
Nothing
those-
wrong with that type of wood treatment. I think they look very nice.
Oh, and those were only 15?
Can you talk to Mr. DeMarsh about how nice those look?
But
I was joking.
Oh,
the museum project is supposed to be completed in spring. So wouldn't the stairs have to be completed around that time?
When you say spring, I mean,
Is it the Island Company spring or is it
right? I mean,
real spring?
exactly.
They're saying May, I
Spring.
believe, is the
You
opening.
know,
Yeah,
Move forward a bit to the
Right.
next fiscal year? Is that what you're saying?
the stairs will not be complete by the end of 14-15. So that's why the city manager had the insight to drop.
Okay, so then it's fair to say that the, in this spreadsheet, the 50,000 is correct. However, in the one time, it's really 25.
I'd say that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's.
And I think that there are a number of expenditures like that that's why we want to sharpen our pencils a little bit, come back to you and say, you know what, considering this fiscal year is only going till the end of June.
As usual.
As usual. Well, but I mean, since it's already November, we're going to dial back some stuff here.
Okay, so like on the capital
Yes, it always goes
improvement
then.
projects list, the total projected cost is 50,000. That's a true statement. The total projected cost is about 50,000. And on this spreadsheet, it doesn't have an allotment for proposed project 1415. So that would be 25,000 in this spreadsheet, which then comes to this one-time expenditures, and then we're going to see this again next fiscal year.
Right, and then
Okay.
just to take it further, we probably would put that as a high priority because we're contractually obligated to
Right.
provide that, so we have to do it, so.
Okay,
right.
I'm good with that, but I
Okay.
don't want this to be misleading. So if the projected cost is $50,000, then I'd like to see that stay as the total project cost. And then,
Definitely.
of course, if you need
That's
a
fine.
budget part of that, then that would be fine.
Yeah.
But I don't want you guys to sharpen your pencils so much that our documents are misleading.
No, I
No.
think
Okay.
I must have misunderstood. I thought we got a good deal at 25,000. So maybe it was the wooden stairs at 15. But what we can do.
I do like that wooden stair option, though. That really is.
Just go for a slip and slide
think
and
it's-
do it
exactly.
for $100.
To be fair, we're still waiting for the final plans, and that could change the dollar value. This is an estimate only.
Okay.
And just a little background on the financial side, any project that goes out to bid and comes back for X amount of dollars, even if it flows over to the next fiscal year, is encumbered for the full amount in the current fiscal year. So you would never really have a half and half kind of thing, unless potentially it's an in-house deal. We have somebody here who can build stairs. So, but if it's a contract award, it has to be encumbered.
Okay.
Let's see. Okay, as we keep on moving,
Turn the page.
the Traffic and Safety Fund is another fund that normally is in the general fund, but we moved it out of the general fund several years ago in order to track how much, how expenditures are doing relative to revenues, which are fines. So at this point, we are subsidizing the fund. We have a bit more traffic-related items in the fund, whether it's a new meter last year that did the noise meter program costs related there. And we are also charging more of Jordan's salary there, but it wouldn't necessarily, it could be a part of this one-time expenditure. I leave all transfers as one-time expenditures, but we do have increased costs in that fund. And so that might sound a bit confusing, but there's always a choice to bring those expenditures back into the general fund.
Can you go up to 102?
Yeah.
Sure.
Skipped a
We got
whole
no tree,
section.
we got no tree trimming. 102. That line with no number.
Yes, okay. And that is 4,000?
I just went into the
You're
wrong
right.
thing.
It is. It was originally, we had originally in there, I think, $40,000, and that was the last that was removed. We have a base budget of 8,000, but that's not included in one time, so I can remove that,
So
tree trimming.
we're doing our tree trimming in-house, are we not? Yeah, we got that guidance up on that.
We do some of it in-house. We have a bunch we're going to have to do contract out.
Oh, okay. And so
Some
what's,
stuff is going to require an arborist.
okay, and then, so what number is that then?
You know, that was removed, tree trimming was removed in the CIP, so
Not a
we
one-time,
can,
it's ongoing.
we have $8,000 for ongoing,
Okay, I gotcha.
but
and-
any additional tree trimming.
Okay, let's go up to warehouse office. We kind of skipped over all those 102s.
Sure. Warehouse office is the Public Works Director's office at the warehouse. I believe there's some drywall that's been installed, and we also have internet connection that's going there so that he can work from the warehouse.
And who's going to live there?
No, Public Works Director, Dennis.
Really?
You mean we get our space back?
Okay, let us know what half, okay?
How about 90-10?
Okay. Is he going to need AC up there too?
No.
At that warehouse? Oh, that's the 90 he'll be here. He'll show up in the morning when it's nice and cool
Yeah.
and then have to leave. I mean, that place it's not a healthy environment. I mean, why are we doing this?
Well, if I could extrapolate on that. So we have long believed that it would probably be good to have the Public Works Director,
The interim public works director.
the interim public, in close proximity to where the yard operations are taking place. It's similar to the harbor master being down the harbor, the fire chief being over at the fire station.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thought. And so the other thing is we have a need to upgrade some of the IT connections up there so that we can roll out things like
Timesheet.
right, precisely, and our public works department staff being able to check their email before and after
Right.
on break and that type of thing. So it's not functional now, and we'd like to have it so that he could go up there and work up there and be present.
Okay.
Get him out of here.
Heck, yeah, and then we would derive that benefit as well.
Okay. And the tracking model?
And just checking on our time, are we okay?
Yeah.
5 minutes.
I'm sorry, can I go back up to the Traffic Safety Fund for a minute? Just,
Sure.
Very unrelated, but I just want to put this call out there. I'd be interested to get an update whether we can get something via email to the council. We had received some grant money quite some time ago for Five Corners here. And I'd be curious to know what the update is with that money and what the plans are. And I know that the plans, I believe, came in more expensive than what we had a grant for, and et cetera, but this is all way prior to this particular council. So I'd just be curious to get an update at some point.
Sure.
And if everybody else is interested, could either
Sure.
get it at a meeting or via
Yeah.
email or
I'll
something
email
would be
to everybody.
nice. Would be
Yeah.
great. Okay.
Work order tracking module?
Yes, this is a module, it's actually a database that allows Public Works to initiate work orders and track them and have Dennis follow up with them to see where they're at. So it's available, I believe it's going to be available for staff as well to enter in a work order and for Public Works staff. If something comes in from council, it'll get logged in, there'll be a follow-up process and tracked for efficiency and effectiveness.
So it's got internet up there, and we've got a computer up there already? Everything's all set up
We've
up
got the
there?
wiring for internet.
What's that?
We have the wiring for internet at this time, and for connectivity to the city hall. We don't have the computer there yet. That's the next phase. Although I haven't actually looked into the warehouse office to see what it looks like for Dennis, but I know everywhere else we're designing the station, the desktop.
So there may be some additional cost needed for the computer or whatever you're putting up there.
Yes, and that's in the equipment section,
Okay.
in the computer equipment section. Yeah.
Okay, keep going.
And then we've got planning and building, which is general fund. We have the MyGov permits and inspection module for 1,900. That's the current year expenditure associated with that. That's a planning and building inspection software program. And we have also a GIS module. This is pending consolidation of existing vendors that we have, Digital Map and RBF, into one consolidated GIS system. Being in between years, we may end up paying more for one before we discontinue it. So I placed $3,000 as an estimate for cost. It may be nothing, but as we're consolidating it, there may be a cost.
I have no idea what that does.
It's our mapping system.
Yeah.
That's how you get your letter to tell you about planning commission actions.
Okay.
And much, much, much more.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Much more.
Oversimplification.
Okay.
And the planning advisor is $15,000, and this is for RGS, and we currently have a planning advisor working.
Steve Flint.
That's him.
Yes.
And then community promotion. This is, I have a meeting with Jen to see how we did this weekend. The city costs, if there is any, associated with Oktoberfest. And also 4th of July festivities.
We won't have any costs with Oktoberfest.
Okay.
And what about city resources, though? I know Jen sent me the budget, and I apologize, I don't remember off the top of my head. Was there an allocation for city resources for that day?
We did have some additional overtime associated with it. There'd be a little bit of overtime.
But city resources in general should be part of this budgeted item.
Right, next year will, but just as far as one-time expenditures, I'm speaking to only. But you're right, the total cost does involve city resources.
And how can, since 4th of July's already happened, how can we have any 4th of July expenses?
That's a good point. This
Well,
probably,
there definitely are some expenses of the 4th of July, even if it's just the trophies. I mean, it's not 10 grand.
Yes.
But I think this is looking forward, so it'll be in the next.
Correct.
Expenses would be
new.
potentially incurred now in this budget versus the next.
Yeah, it
So
probably,
2015 Fourth of July.
Correct.
Right.
Any contractual item that comes up by then, this is brand new, this isn't what's in the base budget.
right.
And we will also be talking to the Chamber of Commerce more about this particular item as well.
Yeah.
So in other words, that number could be less. Mine, I don't know, just we,
Mm-hmm.
It's a placeholder.
yes.
Exactly.
Right.
And recreation, we had a request for, I believe we did purchase these folding chairs. And so that's a current year expenditure. And I believe they're for Tremont Hall.
Well, and they were done. How are we doing, I mean, the whole city accumulates a bunch of stuff, and I know recreation has, you know, did we buy the bamboo that was out there at the Oktoberfest?
The fencing,
Uh-huh.
I don't know if we already had that or if we bought that, I'm not sure.
But I wonder, well, that'd be a question, storage for all of this stuff. I mean, we got lots of tables, lots of chairs.
Those are line
Dennis is
tables.
moving out, so
Yeah, Dennis is moving out. We got Dennis.
Dennis
space.
is moving out.
Oh, so they'll go in there, okay.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know what, I mean, we must have a storage problem.
Have you
I'm-
seen the city warehouse?
Maybe, yes, I was going to say.
I haven't been in
It's
there.
pretty
in a little
massive.
bit.
Yeah, it's pretty.
It is pretty massive.
Pretty
Yeah.
secure,
Well, massive, but,
your transient.
okay.
And
I
we got
guess we're.
spare space in the garage.
And as
Okay.
you see, there's other items on here, the camera system and portable pool.
Right.
And this is where they live, the expenditure would be in this particular area.
So with the portable pool, though, this is going to end up being a hot subject, I'm pretty sure. The pool is a saltwater pool, is that correct?
They never
We
have
didn't
been.
put it up this year.
No.
Does anybody know?
It's a freshwater pool.
We did not put it up this year. The children took swim lessons down
Down
at
at,
the bay as
Yes.
well as the previous year.
Right.
Worked out very well, I thought.
I thought so too. So I'm just curious.
Jen?
Was she watching us in the other room?
And I should say, I heard about this, so I added it, so,
What are you talking about?
the portable pool.
Oh,
Is it saltwater?
well, when I walked this way, well, we haven't made a decision on what
No, I know.
what we are doing for this coming summer. That's what you're referring to?
Yes. It's
Well, there's a
placeholder.
line item on our budget here for $10,000 for the portable pool, and I just would like some more information on what that is.
Sure. So this last summer we did swim lessons in the ocean, and it went good, except that so few people
Yeah.
enrolled. I think it is difficult to teach brand new swimmers swimming in the ocean because of the temperature, even though we think it's really warm this summer. New swimmers don't necessarily agree at 4 and 5 years old. And the waves are just really intimidating. Even though in the harbor it's calm, it is a lot more difficult than in a pool. So we are considering constructing a new above ground pool as we had in the past. But we do have some things that we had kept from the old pool that we'd be able to reuse. Not a significant amount, not the entire structure. In previous years, we would buy a structure and that would last several years, and you would just buy a new liner for the pool
Right.
each year. And but the wood was completely rotted out when we took it out. A lot of the supports, and it had probably seen at least 15 years of being out in the elements, and then obviously like splashing and everything during the pool season. So
Well, so if we, because I think the pool is definitely a great idea, and I remember the benefit of that pool versus
Yeah.
not, just the ocean. So I guess our question would be if we also had to buy the totes full of water, because it'd be curious to see how many gallons in those pools.
one year we did do salt water, and it was awesome. So it does not have to be fresh.
And it
water.
works on our little filters?
Oh, yeah, the filter is like a no-brainer if you do that. You don't have all the expenses of all the chemicals. You still have some that you have to put in, but it's way less maintenance, way less chemicals.
Okay. And what did you just siphon it out of the ocean and stick it in there? Or a hydrant, huh?
Yeah, hydrant.
Duh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, I think it's
I already
necessary.
know offense.
We do have our
It's
desal
a really
plant.
big straw.
We have our own desal plant too that we could utilize.
We have
To
a
fill-
what?
the
That little
desal plant
decent,
down
yeah.
at the
We have a
casino.
hole in the harbor.
Yeah.
In the harbor, we could
Yeah.
fill it
I'd like
up
to
with
see that stay in,
We could do
kids.
that.
Oh, no, I
As
And
definitely,
then the,
Yeah.
I think there's,
freshwater?
I think we need a pool for sure, and I think that the swim lessons were popular. I just would prefer to see it saltwater for one, so that was really where my question was, and if
and
you're
on
gonna-
our side, it was so much better. You can still warm it, so it's, and that's really easy. But it's just, yeah, it's way less cost for chemicals, way less maintenance as far as the pump. So
And if we have an accident in there, it's,
you can still shock it like a regular freshwater
Okay.
pool. So, yeah,
It's still what?
Still warm.
it's still warm.
okay, great.
And then the other questions that I heard before I came in were the bamboo had been purchased several years ago by Pastor, so that was just
Oh, good.
sitting brand new, ready to be used in the warehouse. And so it's all wrapped up back, ready to go for the next event, so that was really good. And then the chairs were purchased already. We used them down at the event. And so those go to,
What about
All-
the spit buckets?
we bought those there from Home Depot for like $10. It's a steal.
And how many chairs did you purchase?
We purchased 150.
Okay, that kind of number. Okay, good.
Basically, all of them at Tremont Hall have seen their lifetime, the ones that are up
Right.
there. And these are the lifetime guarantee Mighty Light brand chairs, so they're really high quality. When we did Fall Fest and we used them, we just wiped them down afterwards and they're ready to go for a wedding. They're not, the old ones were pretty sad, so.
So that is a question. Do we have the ability to rent those, and have we set up a price for those?
We haven't set up a price for them.
Fee schedule.
That would certainly be something that we can add. The other thing that we're contemplating is figuring out how to better regulate them when we're using them for events that rent out Tremont Hall or any of the other city facilities, that would be an additional expense on top of that, not automatically included. Currently, tables and chairs, if you rent the facility, are just included in that price. But because that's the major wear and tear on them, we practically have a party every week. It would be good to.
And how many tables do you have?
We currently have 15 that are operational,
Okay.
but they are nearing their
Yeah, okay.
end of their life.
Let me ask council a question. So we've got a couple more pages we haven't made it through.
Yeah.
Our thought is that we're going to spend, Rich, you missed this part, so get ready for this. 4 hours, we're going to take half a day and march through the entire budget document by department and just get it over with. So is it your pleasure to stop at this point knowing that that's our next step, or do you want to continue to finish up these couple pages? What's your pleasure?
Well, let me just ask. Everything that's on here,
We've discussed it.
we've discussed
For the most
somewhere
part,
else.
yes.
So they've already been discussed. It's just where you put them.
Right. So you're going to see them by department
Yeah.
when we march through all the way through.
I mean, I don't know why we didn't do that originally. Wouldn't that have been easier?
Well, and
Just to have it like that.
apologies, maybe we could have done that. That would have been a better approach. I think we were just trying to show you some one-time expenditures and just,
Right,
but you're right.
Yeah. I mean, it's a learning curve for three of us, for sure, so this is good, and so to better understand, but I think in future, there might be a way to streamline this a little bit.
What kind of vehicle are we talking about buying? Code?
Well, you may have seen.
I've already seen it.
We're trying to evaluate some. We have an electric unit out here now that costs around $16,000. The challenge with all the electric vehicles, which are the kind we're leaning towards, is that they don't last the entire day. So if you have two of them, you've got one that's constantly available for use. But we're still trying to find that electric vehicle that has the longer lifespan. That's the challenge. That you can also put a deer in back of.
How about LPG?
What's that?
How about liquefied petroleum gas as
We
an alternative to electric?
we could buy. We were trying to get away from fossil fuel, to be honest. We were
Where do you
trying
think
to.
the electricity comes from?
Well, I realize that it does go from one source to another, but I do have some experience with the stationary source that it's at, and I know how it's retrofitted, so I know it's a fairly clean exhaust.
And on those things, there's no way to put an additional battery in the back.
There is the capability on some of them to add either a bigger battery or an additional, and so it's just there's a myriad of options. We're trying. And part of the problem is we don't know until we get them over here to test them out.
Yeah.
So we had really high hopes from it. You may have seen this little van that we had over here a while ago that we got shipped over for free, and it lasted a couple hours, and then it was. And then all the manufacturers say oh yeah they'll work great over there, but it's like no, we have a lot of hills. Oh no,
Right.
it'll be fine. Well,
Got a lot of hills.
we have a lot of hills, and it's hard to find a place over town that simulates this small little area with so many hills.
Mm-hmm.
Single hill.
Maybe Signal Hill might be that's not a bad thought.
Palos Verdes.
Okay, let me just bring up something along budget, because the first of the year, people get their business licenses and things like that, correct? So, and how do we discuss in a timely fashion, or it could be something that doesn't happen to have right January 1st, inspection fees for monthly rentals? You know how we're talking about the
We discussed that as part of
concern.
the CUP process, I seem to remember, right? Did we?
Yes, and how do we do it if, because I had mentioned to you, there's an outfit over town that charges $150 to do them, and they also do the follow-up. Might be a little bit more because of the trip to Catalina. Because my other concern was the timing in which you do it. If you inspect them sooner or later, so the work can be, if those people have to be displaced at all because it's maybe mold or whatever, we have to figure out a vehicle, or I don't know if it's our responsibility or it's the landlord's to move them temporarily. I don't know, but I'd like us to really get a handle on that, because if we're going to start doing business licenses in January, it seems like we should establish that fee for the inspection prior to that, because I really would hate to wait another whole year.
Okay, we have a number of follow-up from that we need to
Okay.
address with you, so we can do that.
Okay.
That'd be the meeting in December
It's going to have to be,
for the
Yeah.
218.
Yeah, so,
right?
and transportation study, was that in here?
I haven't heard of a cost related to that.
Is this for a traffic engineer?
No, we were talking about anything we do transportation-wise, we can start that in-house. Like talking about all of our transportation and our noise and our
yeah.
the whole big plan. That's all, for the next 8 months, that could be something that's done in-house. We don't have to go out-house.
We don't have to go outhouse. Hopefully. Yeah, I mean, the thought was we would have a study session, I think, and we would identify what the priorities were.
Okay.
And then we would march down accordingly.
Okay.
And I think as part of that, we also would create some definitions. I think that's also been something that's been holding us back, because we have some
Okay.
loosey-goosey terms that we use, and so we need to be
Right.
clear. We would love that.
Okay.
Yeah, we
Okay.
gotta do something about traffic for sure.
So can we try to get, I know Denise, usually seems to work really well. You send out an email and give 3 options of dates for us to do this. I know for me, I'd like to get the budget adopted by the second meeting of November. So if we could maybe try to move on this meeting minutes.
The 4-hour monster?
I mean, I don't really think it's that big of a deal.
No,
I mean,
that's good.
Our council meetings are 6 to 7 hours. I think we can handle 4.
6 to 7
What
hours.
days do you work on? Well, everybody works, but I mean,
When we start at 4 o'clock in the
Oh, yeah,
afternoon.
that day was,
they
yeah,
are.
okay.
like, well, I'll just tell you, Wednesday and Friday are good for me, and time of day is really open. So start with those 2 dates with me, and then see where, and then follow around. I could even do, well, I don't,
Are morning times okay?
I'm good all day, so.
8 to 12?
Mm-hmm.
Does that work for you, Joe, or no?
I'm
Are
fine.
you sure?
But really?
Yeah, I'm better off than
Wednesdays or Fridays.
In the morning's better?
But
What'd you say, Richard?
Well, I could do Tuesday also. Well, then we have a council meeting that day on November 4th. I don't know if we want to do that. And then
How about if I throw out some Wednesdays?
We don't have
What?
one on the 4th, do we?
Sorry, separate day from council if we could.
That's also council day.
Oh, we don't have a council on election day?
Yeah, we do.
Oh, okay. You trying to confuse me? Not hard to do.
Richard, are Wednesdays okay for you, Wednesday mornings?
Not really.
No, not really.
What day's good for you?
See,
That might be better to
I
start
can do
with.
Thursday, but this is, remember we had
Oh, yeah.
planned on doing that. So if we could do Thursday here time in the middle of the day.
I work on Thursdays.
Oh, okay.
We could do a non-council Tuesday. Oh, but no, Tuesday
That's
morning's
pushing it
probably.
out.
Okay,
Pushing
I'm sorry,
the
I'm
date.
sorry. Yeah, we should go. Sorry.
So Monday's not good either, huh? I'm trying to get over 10 kids. I don't know.
We're gonna get back to Denise on that, when she give us.
Okay.
She's pretty good about siphoning things.
Okay. Monday afternoon? No?
Monday afternoon is good for me.
Monday afternoon?
What's on?
November 3rd?
Oh, no, not this week. I won't even be here.
Oh, after Halloween? I mean, you're
Yeah,
not.
I'm out of here.
Okay.
Sunday to Wednesday. Monday afternoon would be better.
Monday afternoon, November 3rd?
We can, Denise, we can probably figure,
Okay.
How
come up
about
with,
this Thursday? Are you going out of town, Annie?
this Thursday doesn't work.
Doesn't work for some.
Chamber thingy.
Oh, yeah, we're at the chamber.
Okay, Saturday. You know, that went over like a little.
Sunday.
Sunday, in lieu of.
Right after church.
Oh,
Saturday doesn't necessarily work for city staff, but.
no, I know.
No, we, you know, if we had.
No, I'm just throwing it up and out, so.
All right, Denise, you could probably just email us.
Okay.
She didn't have a lot of options there, I don't think, if she took down all those notes, but.
And I heard several things through the course, just wanted to wrap up a little bit for you. A prioritization of the CIP, and I think I heard that was from Ben's perspective or from staff's perspective? Staff. CIP, so it'd be individual, so Dennis section, then Dave Clary section, and then
But yeah,
Ben's.
but I'll be obviously going through that.
Correct.
Right.
And then the 4-hour conversation, you've actually heard pretty much 100% of it. It's
Well, we're gonna, what the thought is, we're gonna go through
exactly.
the document in its entirety by department. So
Right.
if there are sections we want to skip, that's fine.
Yes.
That's just fine, but they'll have the entire document to go through. So part two is whatever dates that Denise comes up with, you need to make sure that you can have that
I
draft
have-
document. Okay.
I have it right now.
Okay,
So
and then
the-
you and I need to, you know, unfortunately for me, spend 4 hours going through it beforehand,
So
so.
the reason why you didn't get that immediately, you actually had it for a brief moment the other night, is it provides so much detail on it, you might have been focused on the detail rather than the high level. So it includes line item, these items that you see here. So you'll be looking at it plus what we believe the year-end fiscal year 13-14 is, what the adopted budget was, the base budget. And then you'll have ongoing and then one-time expenditures and then total. So it'll be a nice overview for you, but there shouldn't be any surprises, is what I'm trying to tell you.
So let's say city attorney, we'll be able to see it by department, that
Yes.
line item for city attorney.
Yes. All,
Okay.
yes, so it'll be broken out by
Okay.
the money that is spent for that function,
Okay.
for all functions.
And then when it's that litigation that's, let's just say it's some other litigation that shows up.
We
Then
compartmentalize that in the city
compartmentalize
attorney
that
fund.
as well.
And what I can do is, for key things like the IS, you asked about the 150,000 or so, I can give you a one-page summary for that, a one-page summary for city attorney. I have all of that information. So if there's something, because they do cross funds and it can get very complicated.
I think we're gonna avoid, let's just, we're focus on just creating just the document, and then we can, I'm trying to avoid having
Right,
another
not the discussion,
Yes.
yeah, but,
one-off piece of paper.
no, okay.
You'll be thumbing through many different pieces of paper. I just want to give you a heads up on that, to see everything. So, city attorney is in various different pieces of paper.
Right.
So,
And you kind of are too, perhaps, a little bit?
yes.
Okay.
I'm all right here.
Okay.
So, But we're trying to make it as easy as possible,
What's that?
but that will be detail. But
So-
if there's anything else you're interested in seeing, let me know.
And maybe this is for next budget. But do we need this isn't a comfortable one. If things kind of fall apart in the future with no rain and no, his eyes got big. No rain, reduction in visitors, a reduction of revenue. At what point do we say, staff, how do we adjust for that? And kind of that, not plan at the
Well,
last
let me
minute.
throw out something, so it's a good point. So one thing, we've been playing catch-up for a long time in the finance department.
Yes.
You guys know that. We're now at a point where Chris feels comfortable in very short, probably once this budget is adopted, you're gonna start getting the management reporting that's gonna show revenue and expenditure. So you're gonna have that every month, knowing how you're doing.
Yeah.
And that's
they
something
will-
that you should have been provided with for some time. We just haven't been caught up. Chris
Right.
is going to be there once we get this adopted, and he's going to start doing that.
Right. No, it's all good going forward.
When was the last time the city council had that?
That's a great question.
Was it something that was really never in existence for a while?
It was not in existence, Joe. Councilman Sampson, excuse me.
Oh, sorry.
I think fiscal year 9-10 was when the financial
a
system
long
was
time ago.
adopted, the new financial system. So probably for 1 year you had the documents. And then after that year, probably not.
Okay, so that's something that, we get like on a monthly basis. And then
Yeah, absolutely.
we make decisions based on what we have as opposed to what we think we have.
Exactly. So you'll see, as you guys know, the revenue lags from when it actually was spent. By whoever's providing us with the revenue, because we're getting revenue based on fees. But yes, it'll show what came in this month, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
But I think simpler is we're going to have $1.6 million deficit, of which half of it's in
General fund.
more than half's in general fund, and half of it's in 218 funds. I mean, that right there says we can't keep going this way because we have a beginning balance that is getting decreased, and we eventually run out of money. And so we've got to be smarter and sharpen the pencils.
So every one of those little numbers that you gave us on every one of those forms is in that bottom line? No.
Yeah. Yes.
No.
Everything that's here, everything that's in the one-page expenditure summary
Everything.
is in this. It's all linked up.
And that it also includes, but not necessarily all the capital improvement stuff.
The 50,000 ones that aren't there.
Right, but that's
So-
about it. Everything else is in there.
Correct.
Okay.
And I think the only difference on this is I've included the MTA E-Bus on here, and I'm going to modify my numbers that are in here. But on this particular sheet, it shows unfunded. I show it funded here.
And the other thing is, and this is a one-time thing, but there could be some bond proceeds that offset that deficit number, depending on what Chris finds out. That's the other thing.
Okay.
But to the Mayor Pro Tem's point, you're right. Overall, you have to help us put the brakes on the spending in some areas, because otherwise.
And I think that's why it's important to have this priority list from each of the departments, because there's stuff on there that we've already determined may or may not be our priority, but what's the urgency of it? And each department head is going to know that much better than we would.
Well, thank you, and thank Chris wherever you are, and
Remember, we have a
Dave,
special council meeting tomorrow morning at 9 a.m.
yes, do
It's
we
closed session and it starts in the conference room.
close this and then open that tomorrow, or just keep it open?
Not close.
Okay. Meeting adjourned.